Sam Elliott was not born into fame or certainty. He entered the world in Sacramento in 1944, into a household that looked stable from the outside, but carried an emotional distance that would quietly shape him. His father, practical and disciplined, valued structure over expression, while his mother offered a softer presence. It was not a harsh upbringing, but it lacked something essential, a sense of being fully seen. That absence stayed with him. When the family moved to Oregon, Elliott found solace not in people, but in nature. The quiet landscapes gave him space to think, to feel, and to slowly understand himself. He wasn't a standout student or a natural performer at first. Instead, he was observant, absorbing the world around him. What he lacked in early recognition, he made up for with an internal steadiness that would later define everything about him. The dream that wasn't supported. When Elliott finally realized he wanted to act, it didn't arrive as a casual interest. It felt like direction. But that direction wasn't shared by his father, who saw acting as uncertain and impractical. The disagreement wasn't explosive, it was quieter and more lasting. Disapproval settled in like a weight. Elliott tried to follow a more conventional path for a while, taking on ordinary jobs and attending college, but the pull toward acting never faded. Eventually, he made the decision that would define his life. He left for Los Angeles. It wasn't a dramatic leap filled with confidence. It was a stubborn, necessary step taken by someone who knew he wouldn't forgive himself if he didn't try. That choice wasn't supported, and that lack of support didn't disappear. It became part of his motivation, a quiet force pushing him forward even when nothing else did. Years of being almost Hollywood didn't welcome him with open arms. For nearly 2 decades, Elliott lived in the space between opportunity and recognition. He worked small roles, appeared briefly in television shows, and took on jobs just to survive. He was often close, almost cast, almost remembered, but never fully chosen. Even his early appearance in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid went largely unnoticed. He was present, but invisible. These years weren't glamorous, they were exhausting. Hope stretched thin can wear a person down, and yet he kept going. What made it harder was that he clearly had something, presence, voice, authenticity, but the industry didn't know where to place him. He didn't fit neatly into categories. So he waited, not passively, but with a kind of active patience, showing up and doing the work even when it felt like no one was watching. Loss that never left him. In 1970, Elliott's father passed away before seeing any real success in his son's career. That moment stayed with him. The approval he had quietly chased for years would never come. It's a specific kind of loss, the kind that doesn't fade but settles into the background of everything that follows. Elliott rarely speaks about it in detail, but its impact is clear. It didn't break him, it sharpened him. It made his persistence less about proving something outwardly and more about honoring something inward. He continued acting, not because it was rewarding at the time, but because stopping wasn't an option. That loss became part of his foundation, shaping the quiet intensity he would later bring to his roles. It added depth to his performances because it added depth to him. Love that grounded everything. While his career moved slowly, his personal life found something steady. Elliott met Catherine Ross years before they eventually built a life together. Their connection wasn't immediate or dramatic. It developed over time, quietly and naturally. They married in 1984, choosing a life that was intentionally private and grounded. In an industry known for instability, their relationship became an anchor. It wasn't about spectacle, it was about consistency. That same year, they welcomed their daughter, Cleo. For Elliott, this changed everything. Success in Hollywood was still uncertain, but his life suddenly had clarity. He wasn't just working toward a career anymore. He was building a life. That difference mattered. It gave him something the industry couldn't offer: stability, meaning, and a reason to keep going that had nothing to do with recognition. The moment people finally noticed, after years of being overlooked, Elliott's presence began to land differently. Films like Roadhouse introduced him to a wider audience. Even in supporting roles, people started asking, who is that? His voice, his stillness, his authenticity, it all stood out. Then came Tombstone, where he played Virgil Earp. He didn't dominate scenes, but he grounded them. That became his strength. He didn't need to demand attention. He held it naturally. His performances felt lived in, not performed. By the 1990s, he wasn't just working, he was respected, not as a typical leading man, but as something harder to define. He became the actor directors turned to when they needed truth on screen. It wasn't sudden fame, it was earned recognition, built slowly over decades of consistency. A late career recognition. Decades into his career, Elliott experienced something rare, a second wave of recognition. His role in A Star is Born brought him widespread critical attention. Acting alongside Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, he delivered a performance that was quiet but deeply emotional. It earned him award nominations and introduced him to a new generation. What stood out wasn't just the performance, it was the realization that he had always been capable of this. The industry was simply catching up. For Elliott, the recognition didn't change his approach. He didn't suddenly become different. He remained steady, grounded, and focused on the work itself. The difference was that now more people were paying attention. A moment of controversy and accountability. In 2022, Elliott faced criticism after comments about the power of the dog were widely seen as dismissive. The response was immediate and intense. For someone who had spent decades building a reputation, it was a difficult moment. But what followed mattered more. He didn't deflect or avoid responsibility. He acknowledged the mistake and apologized directly. It wasn't a polished response, it was simple and honest. That honesty didn't erase the situation, but it showed something important about his character. He didn't try to control the narrative, he accepted it. In a public space where many avoid accountability, that choice stood out. It added complexity to his story, reminding people that even those admired for their authenticity are still human, still learning, and still capable of missteps. A life built, not rushed. What makes Elliott's story compelling isn't just his success. It's how long it took and how deliberately it unfolded. He didn't build a career overnight. He built it piece by piece, through years of uncertainty. His marriage, his family, his work, all of it reflects that same patience. He never chased trends or tried to reshape himself to fit expectations. Instead, he remained consistent, trusting that what he had to offer was enough. That approach didn't always bring immediate results, but it brought lasting ones. His life is a reminder that not everything valuable arrives quickly. Some things require time, persistence, and a willingness to keep going without guarantees. What his story really means. At its core, Elliott's journey is not just about acting, it's about endurance. It's about staying true to yourself even when the world doesn't immediately recognize your value. It's about accepting that progress can be slow and that validation may come later than expected. His life shows that authenticity isn't always rewarded quickly, but it is remembered. The years he spent being overlooked were not wasted. They prepared him. They shaped the kind of presence that couldn't be manufactured. In the end, what stands out isn't just his voice or his roles. It's the consistency of who he has been through it all. He didn't become someone else to succeed. He remained himself long enough for success to find him.